What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the MPower show. And of course, I'm Markeith Brayton.
And I'm Donzaliegh Powell.
And we're excited that you have joined us again this week. We have a great episode for you this week. Can't wait to start talking to you about our topic, why now? Entrepreneurship. We both are entrepreneurs, and we thought it'd be great to give you some insight of our own journey. And this is actually going to be a series of episodes we're going to be doing on entrepreneurship, even interviewing some successful entrepreneurs so they can give insight of their journey. But of course, before we get started, Donzaleigh,
Yes.
How has your week been?
This week's been good. Very productive. Very productive.
Very productive week. You know, my week is starting to be a little routine, and I need to break it up a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm excited about what's to come. So today we are excited to be talking about our entrepreneurial journey and, you know, giving you some insight more on how we got where we are today in our businesses and what steps we had to take and what things we needed to do in order to, you know, generate revenue, generate client interest as well, and things that we know that we are wanting to do moving forward in our business. And I think to some degree, we have two different types of businesses to some degree, but we have some things that we do similarly that we want to even do together as the MPower team. So entrepreneurship, why now is the question, or maybe I should have said, you know, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Well, that's a little loaded.
Okay.
So I've thought back on, when you think back, you always get to reflect, right? And how I was a kid that sold the suckers in school, probably third grade. I was selling stuff, you know, chips, whatever.
Right.
You know, so you look back and you're like, okay, where did I get that from? Because both of my parents are very traditional, very go to this job, work it until you retire. You know, that's just how I was brought up. And anything else was just kind of like, I'm not gonna say frowned upon, but it was never encouraged. It was always go to school, work, retire, you know? Yeah. And so I started kind of breaking that mold a little bit, I think first when I started doing photography. And though it was on the side and I was still working my full-time job for many years after that, but I think that started the flexibility, like, oh, okay, I can schedule people when I want to schedule them or tell them, no, I'm not available. You know, it just started opening up the viewpoint of, I don't have to go clock in. I don't have to swipe anything, dial in. I don't. And then over the years, I think you talked about the now part. So the now, then I got to the point to where, you know, I was at a corporate position and just decided, you know what, it was just time. You know, sometimes you just come to that place where you're like, you know what, it's time. And so I started my own consulting company, still doing this, basically the same thing that I was doing for them, but just doing it for myself, coupled with the photography. And that, again, when I did that, it was right before the pandemic. It was it was literally, could I have picked worse timing? I'm not sure, but it was a lot going on. It also the day that I launched, which I will never forget, the day that I launched, that night was the tornado that was here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. So I immediately took everything down that I had just said. I just started this business because now is not the time, right? You've got all these people that are out, stranded, houses are torn up, buildings, the whole nine. People have lost their jobs. So just fell back again, like, okay, let me give this some time. And then I got to where I got that back rolling, photography started picking up. And one of the things that I've always done was hosting events, whether it was small workshops, trainings. I've always been outward facing as far as community, doing public speaking, and I enjoy it. Right. And so I was like, you know what? I want to do this too. And so between those three things, kind of the hosting brand, the consulting, and the photography, that is my entrepreneurship. That is what I have, basically everything that I love, I am now doing, and very thankful, again, for the flexibility and all of the ways that you can kind of just be able to make your own decisions. And it's not always easy.
Yeah. No. It is not always easy, and we'll come back to all your 3 different things that you named as far as your overall business. But for me, I don't know that I ever really thought I would be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
I come from a single parent home, a very hardworking family. You go to work,
Absolutely.
you kill it, you pay your bills, you raise your kids, you try to give them the best that they can have. And I was taught, go to school, go to college, maybe go to graduate school, get a great job with benefits.
Yep.
And, live your life. And I did all those things. Went to school, college, went to graduate school, got really good jobs. But what was interesting for me in the course of my journey was that I was always switching jobs every 2-3 years, which was really giving me some insight around, okay, perhaps I'm not really being fulfilled around the work that I was doing. Because I went from healthcare to education, back to healthcare, and then I did both. I was working as a corporate compliance director by day and teaching for University of Phoenix by night, just to kind of have both worlds. One, because I knew I was a teacher at heart and that I love to inspire and to educate people. But 2, I knew that I went to school for a particular thing and I had to pay back them student loans, and teaching just wasn't going to do it. But I came to the point of 2014 where I experienced something nobody ever really prepared me for, and that was being laid off. That at no point in time, in people telling me to go to school, go to college, get a great education, get good benefits, no point in time did anybody ever say you potentially could be laid off. And after being laid off, I had an opportunity to ask myself that question. Do I want to go back and do what it is that I was doing and be unfulfilled? Or do I want to make a different decision and find myself doing the things that I'm truly passionate about and that bring me joy? And that day that I was laid off, I decided I was not going to go back.
Wow.
I was not going back to that life. And that whatever I had to do, I was willing to do it to not have to go back. Now, being single and no kids, no family, it was an easy decision for me to make.
Right.
Because I understand some people may be watching and say, well, that's not my story. I had kids, I have a husband, I got a wife, I got a family, so on and so forth. But for me, I knew that I had to do something different if I was going to really enjoy life. And so April the 4th of 2014, I got in my car and I made a decision that I'm not going back to the traditional aspect of a 9-to-5. And for about 4 years leading up to me going full-time in entrepreneurship, I went into full-time ministry. And I had always wanted to incorporate ministry and business together. And it was a great opportunity for me to hone in on my skills when it came to marketing and digital marketing and learning how to properly market myself as an expert in particular areas. But I always wanted to start a speaking business. I always wanted to travel the world, travel the country, going to college campuses, even working with corporations, really on personal development and peak performance. How do we get the best out of ourselves? How do we inspire and motivate ourselves to do the things that we truly wanted to do? Hence the MPower show. The MPower show has that same theme because I believe I'm called to build people up. I'm called to build the minds of people. I'm called to help people to transform their lives. And so I started out speaking, and then as time went on, I was introduced to coaching, and people were asking me, questions like, Markeith, how are you getting paid speaking engagements? How are you marketing yourself? Then in 2015, started a podcast and started marketing myself through that, because I'm a firm believer that you want to find avenues that really leverage your most innate gifts. And since speaking was the most innate gift that I had, I needed to find mediums like podcasting or video or speaking on stages to help market myself. One, because I didn't have necessarily a book. And, you know, if you're a speaker and you want to speak professionally, one of the things that they encourage you to do is write a book.
Right.
Well, because of the timing of me starting the business, you know, podcasting and being kind of having a digital platform, social media was becoming really big. So
Right.
it kind of substitute not necessarily having a book, because you could display your expertise. You could share your expertise that way. And so 2014 was when I really started the idea of being an entrepreneur, but it really wasn't until 2018 that I formed the LLC, went full-time into business, offering digital marketing services, business coaching, and doing my speaking.
It's funny you mentioned being laid off. So I was laid off in 2012. It was, thankfully, we had a heads up that it was coming. I think maybe it was 2 months, you know, something like that, before I found a position that was, you know, a really good fit for me. But during that time, again, I had already started photography, so I just ramped that up. Like, you know, so it's almost like I switched to being an entrepreneur for those 2 months and was just out there trying to, you know, get it and hustle up whatever I could in the meantime. And then it kind of went back to that side hustle for a while afterwards. Yeah. But I can understand the feeling. It's not nice. It's not good. And you just realize how, of course, companies are going to do whatever they feel like they need to do.
That's right.
You know, they can only care so much. You know, at the end of the day, they're there to make a profit. And if they're no longer making a profit, or the contract's end, which that's what happened with us, our entire contract ended, then, you know, they got to do what they got to do. So, yeah.
Entrepreneurship. So which leads us to the why now. Like, we're in 2022. And many people, you think about the whole conversation around the Great Resignation.
Yes.
So many people during the pandemic got insight for themselves, like, wow, you know, look at how much time I spent on a job that I didn't necessarily enjoy. And now I get to be at home and work from home and explore different opportunities and get to see all that I was missing out on.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. People in HR right now are grasping for straws, because you have to start figuring out, these people have had the taste of freedom, the taste of flexibility, to take all of that. And so, you know, if they want to require, we need you back in the office, maybe not as much, maybe it's a hybrid schedule, but some want you in there full time. And sometimes these people are like, I'm not willing to do that anymore. Yeah.
So how's entrepreneurship changed your life?
Oh, completely. Completely. Much more relaxed. I think I'm a pretty, you mentioned about hardworking, same thing. My parents, that was just, my mom, I call her a workhorse, like, just go get it. And that's just how we were, you know, do the best that you can. Like, literally, that was definitely how I was brought up. And so though I was doing all those things, of course, I was doing them for different companies and things like that. And so now I've been able to develop more of a balance. Yeah. So when I'm working, yes, I'm going. Let me do everything that I can within these hours. But if I need to stop and go take a nap, I'm gonna go take my nap. Yeah. I'll get back to it when I get back, you know, or if I need to run to the store, you know, it's like I haven't lost sight of the overall goal and some of the things that I need to be doing, but sometimes it's just a me day. Sometimes, whereas before, if I had been at a regular job, I would have drug out of the bed because I gotta be there. I can't miss no day. Like, I literally would stack up so many that, they'd be like, you have to take them. Right. Like, stop, you have to take. But I didn't want to. Let me just bank them all. I wanted to bank them all because I wanted to be there and I didn't want to miss. And I wanted, I think it's almost that need to please and to excel, whatever has to be done to excel, I think. And I've mentioned, I think before, but because I was a teen mom, I think that plays a role in it too. So you talked about the responsibility, like I had that responsibility. And so it was just like, I gotta, mortgage, I gotta, and so I think that was just kind of the mindset. Whereas now I'm able to kind of say, take a step back. You know what?
Take a step.
It's okay.
Take a step back. And you may be listening to us talk about our journeys, and we have, not necessarily traditional types of businesses.
Right.
Because the freedom that she's talking about is similar freedom that I have, where I'm not necessarily building a brick and mortar type of business. My business is solely really online.
Right.
It is a online based business where I provide coaching, consulting, speaking, and things like that. And here recently actually got into virtual video production. But one of the ways that it really changed my life definitely was the opportunity really to be available for my aging mother. As she was retiring, there were certain things that she needed assistance with, making sure that, she was able to sign up appropriately for Medicare, and making sure that all of her financial situations were taken care of towards the end. So I was able to, pick up and go to the banks with her, go to certain meetings that she needed to go to as she was preparing for retirement. Being able to help her with the opportunity of remodeling her home and talking to contractors and things like that. Now, don't get it messed up. It wasn't one of those situations where, okay, well, you work for yourself, so you have all this time.
Right.
No, it was me being able to tell my time what I wanted it to do when I needed it to do it, right?
Yep.
Being able to navigate my day based on the things that I knew I needed to get done in the business as well as personally. Additionally, I got laid off the same year that my father died. So not having to ask off or put in a notice to attend a funeral or to do, you get 3 days off to be with family. Things like that, have been very important to me, which really boils down to just owning your time. That entrepreneurship has allowed me to own my time. Now, it has not been easy financially, but the fact that I get to tell my time what I wanted to do. Even during the times where it was tight financially, I get to tell my time, go drive Uber.
Yeah.
Go drive Uber for a couple of hours to make some money to go get some groceries during them tight months.
Right.
Whereas I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Well, let me circle back.
Yeah.
So as far as, we need to do a whole show on dealing with aging parents. I think that needs to be a show. Because similar, I have thought to myself, both of my parents are getting older, obviously, and there have been days where I was at home working, right? Get a phone call, somebody's in a fluster, something's going on, and literally had to drop what I was doing, go jump in the car, go handle whatever it is.
Right.
I would not have been able to do that on the job. Or even if I was, they wouldn't have been able to get me because I probably wouldn't have had the phone, because again, I'm work. Yeah. So who knows how long they would have been out there or whatever the case may be. And so I have truly thought about how this has given me the flexibility that if something major happens, I am the go-to person. I do have an older sister, but she doesn't live, close. She's at least 3 to 3.5 hours away.
Okay.
So if somebody got to do it, I'm going to be the one.
Yeah.
And so I do, like you said, navigating that time and being able to make decisions and weighing, yes, I might need to make money, but is it more important than somebody being on the side of the road? No. Stop that, go do that, come back and, finish up later.
Getting to decide what's most important.
Yeah.
The other way it's changed my life really is financially. That I've had opportunities that I never would have thought I would have financially. That there have been times, especially during the pandemic, since I've had a pivot into doing virtual production, there have been times where I would make for one event or one project what I would make the whole year. Especially when I was teaching, that I've experienced where one project just about paid me what I would have made the whole year as a teacher.
I agree. I agree. I've seen it. Yep.
And once you're exposed to that, you can't be unexposed to it.
Well, I know we both have, strong beliefs as far as faith goes. And there's been several opportunities where I'm just like, okay, he just dropped this in my lap. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't even really have to do anything. And here it is. And like you said, it's several zeros. And I'm like, whoa, it's almost like, my goodness. Yeah. And so I do believe in, of course, doing what you need to do work-wise. Yeah. It's like you need to do your part. Yeah. Don't think everything's always going to get like that. Is not the case. And I like to talk about the ebb and flow. Yeah. So you're going to have those highs. Rack it up while it's high. And you might have some dip down low. Like that is normal for businesses. Mm-hmm. But getting to the part where, of course you don't freak out when you're in those lows, you continue and kind of press on. Maybe you have to pivot. Maybe you have to do something, like you said, Uber, whatever the case may be, to make it work. But I believe in do your part and he got you on the rest.
Yeah. And it's a process. One of the things that just kind of hit me as we're talking about finances, mm-hmm. People would always have the question, well, what about insurance? Mm-hmm. Well, the first couple of years, I did not necessarily have insurance, but because I came out of the community health center sector of healthcare, mm-hmm. I understood what was available for insurance and healthcare. And so I was able to leverage community health centers and different health institutions until I got to the point where I was able to pay for insurance. And today, the last 3 years, I've had my own insurance through the health exchange. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's creating those types of opportunities. And so it can be done. Whether you're single like me or you have a family, it can be done as long as you put your mind to it, as long as you decide for yourself that you want to do it. Which leads me to this question, can everyone be an entrepreneur? Should everyone have a business?
I don't think so. I think it's based on the individual. Yeah. I don't think the level of dedication, the level of work, there's lots of caveats that can happen. Mm-hmm. And then if everyone is a entrepreneur, I think in this day and age, a lot of the larger businesses, they would have no employees because everybody. So I don't think that that's everyone's thing, or that they even desire it. Yeah. Really, but but the opportunities are there that if you do want it, you can make it happen. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I actually would disagree with you just slightly, and that is that everybody can be an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean that you have to be a full-time entrepreneur.
No, true.
And here's what I'm saying, true. That I believe that everybody should have some type of business. If not just for tax purposes. That even if you have a full-time job, that if you formed some type of business around your hobby, and the money that you spend on your hobby and that you invest in traveling and going to conferences and different things like that, that's an opportunity for you to have more money to do those things around your business that become tax deductible. Yep. And I'll never forget what I learned from a YouTube CPA that I like to watch YouTube. And he said that anytime the government creates some type of tax incentive for business means that they are encouraging you to do it. They're giving you the space and the right to get this tax deduction because they need more people to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, small businesses run the world for sure.
And so I do think that everybody can be an entrepreneur, not necessarily full-time business. If you want to, yes. But I do believe even my own mom, like my mother has always baked cakes. Mm-hmm. People have always ordered cakes from her every holiday season. She's even mastered the art of baking the cake, freezing the cake, and mailing them to family members or friends who no longer live in the city. Mm-hmm. And by the time they get to the person, it's ready to cut. right?
I love
That in and of itself it's a business.
Yeah, it is.
And she can write off all of the cake mix, the cake baking equipment. All those things are tax deductible,
Right.
right? That she could be, maybe get a greater refund or be keeping more of her money that doesn't necessarily need to go to taxes.
Well, somewhat in alignment with that, one of the things that I do love seeing is now I'm seeing more young people that have their own business.
Yeah.
Either their parents have taught them or somebody has said, hey, you're doing this. You can make a real business. Like I know there's one young lady, she's got a candle business. So I follow her and everything and watch her. I think she does race car driving. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it, but it's good because that mindset, that's the thing. I'm real big on mindset. You're already kind of preparing this young person to say, I could work full time, but I have an option.
You have an option.
I can pick.
That's
I don't
good.
have to.
Entrepreneurship gives you options.
Yeah.
There was a story that I saw just the other day around the owner of Slutty Vegan. And I think she was either the speaker or something at Morehouse. And she gifted a LLC to every graduate.
Yes.
And this podcast host was saying that he thought it was dumb to give every graduate a LLC. But his counterpart was saying that he thought it was real smart, because it gives them an opportunity to form something, as I was saying, around a passion, around an idea that they may have. Now, the only thing around that I thought may not have been the best of idea about gifting everyone an LLC was that, do they fully understand that they have to renew that every year?
What has to happen? Yeah.
Right.
Paperwork.
She gifted you the LLC for the first year.
And it's a cost.
But there's a cost every year to have the LLC. So I wonder if people fully understood that.
Right.
Well, before we close out this show, as we were sharing our journey of entrepreneurship, I wanted you to give some tips. What are some tips around starting your own business that people should consider, that you think you have learned from your journey that you would provide to people?
I would say one of the main things I think with just about any business is kind of having your own policies, procedures, your operating practices.
Yeah.
And this could be whether you're by yourself or even if you have staff, just the consistency. I think you need to provide either consistent quality, customer service, like those things. People begin to have an expectation. Oh, I know if I go to her, I can expect X. You don't want it to always be completely changing where they don't know, well, is she going to be able to provide this today or not? You just want to have that. So really creating policies, procedures, best practices within your business on paper, not just in your head. I think it's a good start as far as, really laying out, okay, here's my plan and here's how I want to do things going forward.
Right. That's good. For me, a few things that I think you should think about as you are wanting to start a business or considering entrepreneurship is, one, be very clear on the type of business you want to start, right? And understand the time that you'll have to give to that business, no matter if it's an online-based business, a restaurant, some type of brick and mortar business. You really need to fully be clear on what type of business that you want to start. The second thing you want to be clear on is, who is the customer of that business?
Right. Yep.
I think that many of us kind of prolong our revenue generating opportunities because we're not really clear on who the business is for, what problem it solves, and for who. So it's so important to be crystal clear. And it takes some time, because it took me some time to really fully understand who really is my audience. And what I learned was really that the audience for me was me, meaning that they too were corporate individuals who have an expertise that they know they could use for themselves as a business, but they don't really know how to properly market and brand themselves to build that business.
Right.
And so being clear on that. And then the third thing is what will be your revenue model for that business? How will you create income? how will you create income? Because it's not a business if it's not making any money, right?
Don't just wish. Don't sit and say, I'm going to start this, go through all this work, and I hope somebody comes.
Right.
No.
That's so good. I hope somebody
comes.
Yeah, I did a live stream about that just the other day around why it's so important to market yourself. Because people are just not going to patronize your business or even know you're in business.
Absolutely.
Which is why I love personal branding, because you get to leverage your person to be able to market yourself. So those are 3 things that I would say you really want to be clear. Be clear on what type of business you want to start. Be clear on who the client is and the problem you solve for that client. And then be clear on how will you generate revenue for that business.
Love it.
Wow. So, we always like to end our show with encouraging words. And so, Donzaliegh, how would you encourage someone today who is considering starting that business?
Well, I frequently talk about, like I said, mindset. I am real big on if you only understood how powerful your own mind is. Like, my dad used to teach us a little bit about that. He'd be like, it's the difference between the brain and the mind. Mm-hmm. Brain is just, it's an organ. It does what it's supposed to. The mind, you're expanding it. It's taking in all of your experiences, all of the things that are coming. It's changing constantly, like literally constantly. And if you just really delve into understanding, once you really make up your mind, I am going to do this. I think sometimes we hesitate. We say it, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to do this. But when you really get to the point where you really have made up your mind, things change.
Things change.
Can change drastically is what I've learned. It can change drastically.
And then I'll leave you with this. You don't have to settle. That the life you have today is not the life you have to have tomorrow. That there is greater ahead, but you have to know this. That in order to experience the greater, you got to do something different than what you did in the past. Yep. That in order for me to move to a higher financial experience, I had to stop charging pennies. Mm-hmm. One of my coaches said I had to stop stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Yep, absolutely.
And so you got to know your worth, know your value, and understand that you can have better. Mm-hmm. So this has been, I thought, a great episode. Like we said, this is going to be a series of episodes where we're doing some interviews with entrepreneurs, learning of their journey. But we thought we should start it off first to share a little bit of our journey. And we really hope that you are enjoying the MPower Show each and every week. Once again, leave comments and let us know what type of shows would you like to see us do as we move forward. Who are some people that you think we should be interviewing on the show so that we can provide the best possible value to you as you are moving along your journey to be more empowered. But until next time, just remember this: always shoot for the top, because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. Take care.